Listen, I'm really worried that we should be worrying about something and Listen, I'm really worried that we should be worrying about something, and even though there could be nothing to worry about, I think we should worry about it anyway. Now, I know I've said this the last 4,782 times, but that headache is 100% a brain tumour. Rest in peace, baby cakes. Do you remember that time at that party when you laughed and then snot came out your nose? Well, everybody still thinks about that all of the time. And listen, we cannot leave this house tomorrow because everyone will judge you and think that you're a fat mess. Now remember, you've got to phone the dentist tomorrow and make an appointment. But you do realise that means we'll have to speak to a human being. Oh God, no! Just put it off for another 7 months. Anyway, sorry, I'll let you get back to sleep. I'll see you in the morning. If you even wake up. Sorry I'm late. Everybody hates you and thinks you're fat. Oh, you see, I told you!
I don't know how many times in my life I've been almost asleep. You know, like right when you're about to just drift off. Tranquility, peace, just feeling good, like you're just moments away from the best sleep of your life, when out of nowhere it hits you, an invasive thought. We all die one day. We do? Even me? One day? Oh no. Panic sets in. Like I'm wide awake. Like I'm just like, all that peace, it's all gone. And I've realized in that moment now I am face to face with my own mortality. The fact that at some point in my life, I will die. The thing that I'm the most scared of, that all humans are the most scared of, whether we know it or not, kind of instinctually just desperate to avoid death, that it's going to happen to me. And it's something I don't like to think about, especially at like 2 a.m. It's not the best time to be contemplating your mortality, the fact that you won't live forever and one day you're going to die. Fast forward 5 minutes, and instead of just having a rational kind of settling down period, go and grab a glass of water, just, settling down. Instead, 5 minutes later, I'm on Wikipedia and I've discovered there is something called SADS, Sudden Adult Death Syndrome. You go to sleep, you do not wake up for no reason. No reason. And suddenly I'm feeling a little more stressed out. Suddenly I'm thinking this is a disaster waiting to happen. This is a problem. I should be worried about this. That's the reasonable response. And it says it happens like 1 in 300 million people, but last time I did the math, I'm one of 300 million people. So logically, I am that person. Logically, I'm going to die tonight. Logically, I should be freaking out. So I stay awake, because if I don't go to sleep, I can't die in my sleep. Can't get me. So if I stay awake, if I stay alert, it can't happen. So I don't sleep at all that night. Stay there laying, just scanning my brain over and over again. What's another threat? What could take me out? What do I need to be on guard of? And then I think about spontaneous human combustion, or at least the theory that some people can just explode into flames for no reason, like they're one of those old Samsung Galaxy phones that just burst into flames and were terrifying to fly with, little bombs in your pocket at all times. That could happen to me. I'm just going to burst into flames. Terrifying. Then, because I've already been, down the path of being irrational, why not have a little bit more? And I feel that little tickle in my throat. Could it be acid reflux? That would be reasonable. That's something that happens to people. But no, that's not realistic for me, because now I'm thinking, oh man, maybe I'm sick. Maybe there's a whole new coronavirus that's starting in my body. I'm patient zero. This is going to run away and ruin society like we've never seen before. I am the first of us to be the last of us in this zombie invasion that's going to be happening. And it's all happening right now. My life is falling apart. And after 5 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes of searching WebMD, I've decided maybe the zombie apocalypse isn't upon us. And it's certainly not because of me. But I'm pretty sure I have AIDS, COVID, Ebola, and maybe even athlete's foot. Not rational. Never said it is. All the things that people said about me when I was younger, or that I said to people, those embarrassing moments when you relive. It's often when you're almost about to fall asleep, you're like, I remember that time in grade 1 I said that really embarrassing thing. I remember when I went to the teacher and I called her mommy and everyone laughed at me. Listen, it doesn't, I did it once. I'm not even joking. And there's no coming back from that. But I will say it's better to do it in grade 1 than grade 12. I didn't do it, but if you did, you might as well just go home and be homeschooled, because it isn't going to happen. You're in big trouble. All those things that happened, the joke I made when I was 15, that if someone found out about it, what if they find out about that joke? I wasn't really thinking, I was young, I was dumb. My brain hadn't gotten the 2.0 software update yet. Like, it was just a disaster at that time. If people find out, I might get canceled, I'll never get a job, I'll never get into the university program that I want to get into, that master's program. Remember when I peed my pants in grade 1? I'm pretty sure that they all think about me still. I bet you that as I'm trying to fall asleep right now, those people, those like 30 to 35 people that were in my grade 1 class, they're probably thinking about me right now. They have nothing else to worry about, just that I peed my pants 20 years ago. And I think about what the bullies said about me when I was really bullied, legitimately. Because as the fat kid, the things that still kind of linger in my brain and in my mind when I'm picking out clothes, when I'm shopping, those words that still haunt me to this day. And even though I'm in my head, I'm like, man, those are like 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds. You're a 33-year-old man. You could beat up all those kids. They could not hurt you. Not a chance. But their words still own me, govern my mind. And then I feel like even if I'm going on stage sometimes, like I'm still that fat kid, or there's still that feeling of anxiety about what are people thinking of me? Do they see the flaws that you see? That when I look in the mirror, the things that were said about me, still having that anxiety and that tension in my mind, that others are still seeing me through that lens. And even though it's irrational, it still gets me. Have you been there? Some of these things are obviously insane stretches of the truth, or maybe it's not, because I've been there before on some level. But it feels like we're joking because it's so irrational. It's so far from what we should actually logically be experiencing and thinking. But I still, while I recognize those things are irrational, I still let them kind of take control of my brain at times. I let them take the wheel and just own every thought, every moment, and ruin entire seasons of my life. My thoughts, unfortunately, govern my life. The war in my mind is being lost by rationality, and it's being won by craziness, frankly. But for some reason, I still can't seem to land the plane on just landing normal, what I think is reasonable, what I think everyone else is thinking, the way everyone else's brain works, the way everyone else's life is put together, that they have no worries and I'm the only one who has this way, this problem, this issue with my thoughts and the war in my mind. So what about you? How do you process your anxious thoughts? We all have them from time to time. You know, we have fear. We have moments where we will be anxious, but it's different for everybody, obviously. But on some level, we've all experienced this, whether it's seasonal or you just are naturally more predisposed to that. We all have these issues. Do you often let fear govern your mind? Is it what takes control, or are you pretty good at managing those emotions? Do you find yourself being able to rationalize and find the logical middle ground in your life? Are you finding yourself spiral further and further and further into the chaos? Do you imagine there's a bear behind every single tree? Is every plane about to crash? Is everybody against you? Is everyone working to ruin your life? Can you not trust anybody? How is your thought life? Is it healthy, or is it falling apart? Anxiety is a real issue. It always has been. But it seems like it's really amplified in the last 20 years or so. 20 to 15 years. In fact, there's a stat when I was studying this week that Gen Z, young adults, this room, 7 out of 10 young adults struggle with anxiety. So if you're here and you've got anxiety issues, you are in good company. And it makes sense. There's so many things that we should all be panicking about, right? Like, if you really sit down and think about the world around you, it makes sense. We should be scared. To this point, so far, we have survived COVID. We didn't die yet, but we're still kind of coming out of that season. No one knows what the future holds. What could the future be? But even if we survive that, Russia's one bad day away from turning us into a nuclear wasteland. And global warming is just, climate change is slowly cooking us like lobsters in a pot, and the world is falling apart because eggs cost like $50 per carton. Housing costs are through the roof. I'll probably never own a house, and even if I manage to pass college and not not fail those classes, then I'd probably never get a job because there's too much competition in my field of study. And I picked a field of study maybe that doesn't even have jobs for some reason. I'm realizing that 4 years into this thing, that this was a mistake. Why did I do that? Plus, racism is everywhere. The world is falling apart. And that's just the news in the last 3 days. Things are real peachy. It's great. But the reality is that we're living in a world in the last 20, 15 years or so that didn't exist before. It's not that there was nothing to be worried about in the last 100 years, but we're so connected. The strength of our society has become the weakness of our hearts and our minds. Because we're so connected, because we're so hyper aware of everything that's happening. The news cycle, every 5 to 7 days, it's a new way to die. It's a new way that society is going to be hurled into the ocean. It's a new way to panic. There's never a lack of reasons to be freaking out, and you're being hit over and over and over and over again. Never before in history have we been so hyper-aware, aware of every issue that's happening in the world around us, every hurricane, every disaster. And it's not to say that those aren't scary and that everything isn't worth being aware of or having some sort of threat towards, but we've never been so hyper-aware. We've never known all these things. We live in this local perspective. Our mind lives in what's in front of us, but we have this global reach of chaos. There's no lack of fear-mongering information coming at us. We weren't designed for that. But the fact is this, it's intentional. And I'm not here to throw conspiracy theories at you and tell you the government's trying to make you scared so you do all this, whatever. But the reality is this isn't a secret. There was a recent video that came out, a hidden camera. This girl was on a first date with a major producer at one of the major two biggest news agencies or media companies in the United States. And he was telling her how, almost bragging to her like, hey, this will get me brownie points, I guess, on this date. We're going to move on from COVID and we're going to move into the next thing to scare people. A real issue, but we're really going to just hammer on it. And he literally said, fear sells. Fear does sell. There's something about being scared. There's something about fixating on this worry, on this thing that makes you anxious, that it almost feels good. And it's sick and twisted, but I've been there. I did that all through COVID. You're just, why? I can't change anything about this situation. I'm literally locked in my house. But I just go on Twitter, let's see if I can find any more information. You're sucked into the vortex of negativity and you can't help yourself. It's like a drug that you don't want, but you're addicted. You keep going back to that well over and over and over. Well, I guess I'm pretty bored, so I guess I'll freak myself out. Seems like a healthy way to deal with stress, right? And then we spiral over and over again, and it doesn't get better, and you wonder why. There are two types of fear, and there's two types of anxiety, or rather, there are two different things, I should say. Fear isn't bad. Fear is built into us. God gave us that because it helps us deal with dangerous situations, right? So there's always going to be things that you should be afraid of, like bears. They're dangerous. I don't know if you've seen a bear in real life. I don't know if your experience with bears is like a cartoon or a teddy bear. They're bad. Bears are bad people. They're bad. They're dangerous. They will kill you, and they won't care at all about it. They're not cute and cuddly. I think they're sweet, but they're sweet at a moderate distance, where there's maybe I'm in my truck and they're not. If the bear's in the truck, we have a problem. Not even sure how that would happen, but it would be a significant issue for me. Bears and the response that we have to predators are a real thing, and it helps us to respond accordingly. Your fight or flight will kick in. Your parasympathetic nervous system will kick in. And generally, if it's a bear, I don't suggest fight. I suggest flight. I was out at a camp that I'm involved with volunteering just north of Edmonton a couple of summers ago. Had a Starbucks on my way out there. This was peak COVID. I would go out there just to get away, right? So I'm thinking, let's peace, tranquility, just happiness, right? I'm in the woods. Well, I went to go throw my Starbucks cup into the dumpster, and all of a sudden I heard some crashing, running away into the woods. And I'm thinking, I love animals. I love the outdoors. I'm like, that sounded like a moose. That, like literally that same sound, they crashed, they're pretty loud, but it didn't keep running, it kind of stopped. So being the moron I am, I decided, oh, I better go see this moose. Do, 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 here moose, come moose. And all of a sudden the moose sound comes crashing back towards me. That's not normal moose behavior. I'm not a moose biologist, but I can tell you they don't do that. And something inherently in me kicked in, and it was like this fight or flight, this panic, this, oh goodness, something ain't right here. And I naturally, without thinking, kind of ran back to my truck. The door's still open, I'm kind of half in, half out. And I'm just standing there waiting for something to jump out. I'm like, I don't know what it is. It didn't connect that it would be anything. But I'm thinking, maybe it's Sasquatch. That's the logical scenario here. Maybe it's a group of woodland people who want to beat me up and steal my money or something. I don't know. There's got to be something. Or honestly, I've been attacked by a prairie chicken before, and I don't want that either. They're vicious and they're small, and what am I supposed to do? Like, there's no good solution to that. I sat there and I heard more rustling, and finally my heart rate came down. I grabbed a shovel and I hit the garbage bin, and I heard running off. And I looked back and there's garbage everywhere, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. Like, maybe it was a group of woods people, but it can't be. So I came back later on, maybe midnight after doing some work out there, and I'm looking at the garbage. I had my headlamp on, and my father-in-law had come out, and we're looking around, and then we're like, what could this be? Like, who made this mess? Like, there was garbage everywhere. Look up in the trees, and I kid you not more than 10 yards away from us, there's a bear looking down at us with its beady eyes blinking in the darkness. Yellow eyes. You want to be freaked out? That's where it all comes together, people. That was a bear false charging me. This is the stuff you read about. This is the stuff that you don't think happens to normal people. You think it happens if people are out backcountry hiking, camping, putting their Starbucks in the garbage can. And your life flashes before your eyes a little bit. That's normal. That's the purpose of fear. But when we start to feel like there's a bear behind every tree is when it becomes crippling. When it goes from logical fear to irrational anxiety. It's fine if you're scared of the bear that's in the woods right in front of you. But when you're at Canadian Tire and every Christmas tree has a bear behind it, it's socially awkward. It's not normal. It's not healthy. That's kind of the tension between normal fear, normal reaction to things that are problematic, but also this irrational thing that we've kind of allowed into our society, into our minds for seasons or for longer, where we are feeling like we're crippled by this anxiety. And that's don't want to lessen that. I don't want to say that it's not real, or that I don't want to be insensitive. As I know, like we said, 7 out of 10, 70% of young adults are dealing with anxiety, and the other 3 out of 10 are lying. And the problem is that if we feel that way, I don't want you to think that we're just lessening the impact of it, because it's real. But I want to talk about a solution to that. And I don't want to be insensitive. I want to give some actual solutions, because I know that there are some solutions and things that can help you. So how do we deal with anxiety? How do we overcome the irrational fear that takes over our mind for times or for extended periods of time? How do we take anxiety and make it just be a guest in our house and not a permanent resident? How do we get a healthy response to the anxiety in our lives? Well, the Bible, which we turn to here at the Project every single week, because we know that we can see the person of Jesus through its words, and we can learn more about what it means and how to be properly human, to live a Jesus-based life, which is the best way you can live your life ever. The example of Jesus is in that narrative, is in that story. And so we go to that every single week, and I want to do that in this conversation as well, because the Bible does talk about anxiety and fear quite a bit. There's lots of examples. Turns out our generation isn't the first generation who's felt scared before, who's dealt with anxious thoughts. This has been going on through all of human history, through different cultures, different time periods, and today I want to take a look at one that Pastor Paul talks about in Philippians. He says this when he's talking about worry. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. And that's in Philippians 4:6-7. Paul's a pastor. He's writing to a church, and he's talking to them about how to deal with your anxiety. So he says, don't worry about anything. Sounds too simple, right? Sounds almost insensitive. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. No problem. It's all good. Just stop worrying. It's like that big metal bass toy that some people have on their walls. It just sings, don't worry, be happy. Like, let's just listen to the fish. What could go wrong? No problems. Just move on. But it's too simplistic. If you just leave it at that, it doesn't give you any tools. It doesn't give you any power. It doesn't give you anything to work with. You can't just say, don't worry. But he gives us more than that. We're going to come back to that in a second. But we know this works. We know that what he talks about in this verse works. But how do we know that? Well, we know it because Jesus actually did this. It wasn't just something that we see as a good idea or a theory, or here's how you might be able to fix your anxiety, you might be able to kind of hack your system. We actually see that Jesus did this same thing. And we're going to catch up with Jesus in Matthew 26. It says, then Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and he said, sit here while I go over there to pray. He took Peter and Zebedee's two sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little farther and bowed with his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. Jesus is literally, this is the last moments, this is the last time that he has before he gets arrested by the Roman government and he's tortured and murdered and put on the cross to suffer in the most horrific way that you could ever die. And he is fully aware of it. This isn't a secret, this isn't a surprise. If you were faced with that type of death and suffering, with something that is so obviously fear-bringing, anxiety-riddling, what would you do? What would you do if you were face to face with not just your mortality, but you were face to face with the most horrible outcome that anyone in society could ever imagine? The one thing that people run from more than anything. A punishment reserved for the worst criminals. Literal torture, hanging on a cross, nails driven through your feet and your hands, where you hang and you suffocate and have to push up on these nails over and over again as they dig deeper and deeper into your flesh and your bone, and the nerve endings fire, and you're feeling horrible, unspeakable pain over and over again. What would you do? Would you Google ways to get out of it? Would you join like a jiu-jitsu class, an MMA class, or some sort of like get your gun license to try to fight off these people? Would you find a way out? Would you freak out? Would you panic? Would you just kind of sit in the corner? I think we would all deal with this differently. But Jesus, even though he knew it was coming, even though he had every right to be anxious, and we see here, he's saying, I'm so anxious to the point of death, anguish. He's terrified. He even turns to God and says, if there is any other way, if there's any way but this one, just let this cup pass from me. I don't want to drink from this metaphorical cup. I don't want to have to go through this. Please, if there's any way outside of this, just something else, anything else. I'm so anxious, I can't even function. But he doesn't run away. He doesn't try to seek control. Jesus does the only thing that he can do. The only thing that has any sense of answer or peace. The only thing that he knows is going to bring some sort of respite to his pain and to his anguish. He prays. Don't worry about anything, but pray about everything. He didn't scramble for control. He didn't scramble to try and gain control of the situation. The fact is this, when we accept that we are not in control of every element of our life, we take power away from worry. when you accept that you're not the one in control of your life, when you realize that on some level you're along for the ride and you can't fix everything. Our current modern society, we can control a lot of stuff. Technology helps us. Healthcare, we're no longer in the situation where we all die from minor medical things. 500 years ago, toothache, you're dead. Diarrhea, you're dead. We have medication for that, so we don't have to worry too much. Even when COVID hit, okay, the first thing I did was Google, how long does it take to make a vaccine? Man, that rabbit hole that led down, right? I want control. I want to be able to feel like I'm not out of control, because if I don't have everything in my hands, if I can't control it, or somebody that I trust can't control it, a doctor, a politician, a thought leader on the internet, then I'm spiraling and I don't know what to do. I have nothing to cling to. The world is falling apart and I'm only along for the ride. I'm horrified of riding on planes. I just went to Vegas 2 weeks ago and it was terrifying. Like, I know how many planes take off. I know I did the math. Trust me, I Googled it because I want to be in control. The amount of planes that take off, the chances of me dying on the plane is so low, and I totally know it. But I'll tell you this, the difference in my mindset, knowing I'm safe when I'm on the ground as opposed to when the turbulence hits my plane, is very different. And I've thought about my fear of flying, and it's actually not so much the fear of death, and that's part of it. It's, frankly, the fear of falling from the plane just going down. Like, that seems the worst to me. But it's actually that I don't have control. This sounds so stupid, and I'm going to acknowledge that before I say it. I would feel safer if I was the pilot. Because I can control it. I don't want to give this person, I don't know who it is. Who's this person? What training do they have? They've got a fancy shirt on. They've got some little buttons on there. They could have got that at Valley Village for all I know. This man is a fraud. It's so stupid. But because I have no control, there's a literal locked wall between the driver of this missile with wings that I'm just along for the ride on. And at some point I have to accept that I'm just along for the ride. And I have to trust that that person is trained. I have to trust that that person knows better than me, which they do. That's rational, that's real. But the reason I tell you this is because I think there's something there with all of us in anxiety. It's irrational that we need to have all this control. If I have knowledge of it, if I can manipulate it, then I can be in control of the world. And what it is, it's the difference between worshiping Jesus and believing in the power of God, and worshiping yourself and believing in the power of man and woman and yourself. We want to be in control, whether we even know it or not. And we're so uncomfortable with not having that. And that's natural. I'm not saying you're wrong for feeling that way. I am there. But it's not a way that we can live constantly. That type of anxiety, it can't be a permanent resident in our home, in our mind. It needs to be a guest. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. Jesus knew he was about to be tortured. Jesus knew that he was going to experience that pain like he had never seen before, like no one had experienced before. It was terrifying. But the first thing he did was he prayed. And Paul gives us that example. He gives us 4 steps to attack worry, to take control of the fear in our lives and to give it to Jesus. I'm going to throw that verse back up from Philippians. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. 4 ways to attack worry. Number 1 is to seek Jesus. Don't Google it. Don't sit and just wallow in your fear. Don't contemplate every way. Don't fall deeper into the spiraling scenarios of this will happen, and then this will be a chain reaction, and this will happen, and next thing you know, the whole world's on fire, and I'll be dead, and no one will ever love me or talk to me again. Or you just have this chain reaction of panic. Pray. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Then he gives you some tips. He gives you some actual tangible steps. He says, share your fears. And I think that there's something here that we can kind of latch on to. Let Jesus know, let God know what you're worried about. Let him know what your problems are. Tell him what you need. Tell him where you're at. And I think sometimes we're so scared to be honest with God because there's two sides, like, well, I don't want to ask too much, and I also don't want to be real with God because I don't want to offend God. And don't get me wrong, we need to have reverence for God. He's King of the universe. He's Lord of our lives. He's all-powerful. But the fact is, he's not just this overlord who's looking to get offended by everything we say. He wants personal relationship with us. He wants to know you. He knows your thoughts. He knows everything you think, so why are you hiding them from him? He wants you to go to him and to tell him how you're really feeling. I'm not saying go swear at God. I'm not saying go cuss him out and lose your mind. But we see countless examples in the Bible. Talked about them last week with people who were falling apart. Their lives were depressing. And they tell God and say, man, my life is falling apart. What do I do? Jesus just did it. He said, I have so much anguish. I'm terrified. God, if there's any other way, please, just the thing you sent me here to do, the thing I'm supposed to do, if there's any other way, I don't want to do it anymore. So please just take it from me. Jesus did that. Don't hold back from God. If you're terrified, tell him. If you're freaking out, tell him. If you're on the brink, tell him. God is standing there and he's not waiting for you to present some perfect version of yourself, some weird like refined version, and you have to speak in like riddles to him and speak in the old King James English, Shakespearean English. No, he wants to know you. Don't run from him. Tell him what you're scared of. Unload, cry, weep, be real. The very real God that controls the universe wants to know the very real version of you. Don't hide from him. And then the third one is this. I love this. It's to be thankful. And the way I like to look at this one is to take inventory of your life. And I think there's something spiritual here, and there's just something practical about this. Tell him what you're thankful for. There's something that happens in the perspective of our mind when the world is falling apart around us. When the world is absolutely in tatters and on fire, and we think everything is going down the drain, when we can stop, we've told him what the problem is, and we say, God, but I'm thankful for this. My family, my friends. I'm thankful for just my job, my school, that I have air in my lungs, that I have food. I look at the rest of the world. I look at other situations, and I'm just so thankful for everything that I have. And when we take inventory of the good things in our heart and the good things in our life, we start to realize that it might not be quite as bad as we thought in the moment. There's something valuable there. And then the fourth way to attack worry, and this is so important, is to accept his peace. Sit in his peace. Just let the Holy Spirit, let God work in your heart. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to seek professional help. But it is best to go after Jesus. The first thing we should do is to seek Jesus, because Jesus brings peace to our hearts that exceeds anything that we could ever imagine. His peace will guard your hearts and your minds in the worst circumstances, in the moments where you actually have a reason to be terrified, and the ones where anxiety is just winning the battle in your mind. The God who created the universe, he promises that he'll protect our heart and our minds, and we should take advantage of that. We should take him up on that every chance we get. So if you find that your mind is being held hostage by irrational, invasive thoughts, Jesus gives us a remedy, a process to turn to him, to be honest, to take inventory, and to let God's Holy Spirit settle into your hearts and minds. The reality is this: a feeling of worry is a signal to pray. The moment you feel worry is the moment you need to get into prayer. The moment you don't have to, light candles, you don't have to change your clothes, you don't have to do anything ritualistic, but you need to turn to Jesus in that moment. God, I'm terrified. God, this is what's happening in my life. Please, I need your help. I need something. But I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for all the good things. Bring peace to my heart. Bring peace to my life. Don't let fear reign supreme in my heart to govern my mind, but Jesus, I want you to govern every part of who I am. To choose faith over fear, we turn to Jesus. we take inventory and we focus our perspective on what is true and what is good. We tell Jesus what we need and then we rest. And I really want to focus on this last thing. In my life, I've been aware of all these things. This has been an ongoing issue with anxiety for me. It can be crippling at times. I've gotten better at it, but I still have my moments. And you hear these verses, I can share these truths with you, but if you don't believe it, if you don't take it for what it's supposed to be, you can participate and miss the point. And what do I mean by that? There's a verse that I often go to. It's in Psalm 46, verse 10. It says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be honored by every nation, and I will be honored throughout the world." Sounds great. Be still and know that I am God. Rest in the stillness and the moment and the knowledge and the fact that I am God. I am in control. I hold all the power. But in my life, and even just recently, I've come to terms with the fact, coming out of COVID and coming out of the stress of that season and some other things happening in life, I haven't been still. Because I can read that and I can think it, but if I'm not actually still, I'm missing half of the function here. To be still isn't to just stop and to then go to your phone and start Googling ways that you can understand what's happening. To be still isn't to call your friend and to complain about the situation. To be still isn't to just sit down and be in the fetal position and just contemplate and fester in the fear and the panic and the anxiety. To be still and to acknowledge that God is in control is to actually just stop. Sit. Stop. Deep breaths. Acknowledge God. You are God. God, you're in control. God, I trust you. God, I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know where this is going to go. I'm scared to death. But I trust you. Because in this moment, me forcing myself to be still, you are God. And just like every other time you've come through before, for me, through history, through the Bible, you'll come through again. And now I'm going to stop talking. And I'm just going to be still. We're so busy. We're so inundated by negative media and news. Fear sells and we eat it up at all times. And no wonder anxiety is tearing us apart. Be still. So the band's going to play another song. And whatever you're comfortable with, if you want to stand, if you want to sit, it's up to you. But I want to encourage you. Do what we talked about in Philippians. Pray about everything. The trick is it's not just once. Every time you're worried, this is the trick. Not even a trick. This is the hack. This is the deal. Don't worry. Seek Jesus. Pray about everything. And he will fill your hearts with peace. Don't keep busy. Don't keep panicking. Don't reach out and scramble for the next thing. Be still and acknowledge that he is God, that he's in control. Let's do that here tonight. Turn off the phones. You'll survive for 3 minutes, I promise. Put them away. Don't be tempted to lose focus, but just be still and know that he's in control.